food, well, they go back to their country and get whatever food they want. The fact is, we're giving them the calories they want. This isn't Holiday Inn.
The HHS secretary making his comments during a White House cabinet meeting on Wednesday. More Americans sought unemployment benefits last week, but layoffs remain low despite economic uncertainty caused by the Iran war. The Labor Department reporting claims were up to 215,000 from 210,000 the week before. More on these stories from townhall.com.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a super fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and data for just $34.99 a month. But wait, there's more. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be switching to an American wireless company that's committed to keeping 100% of its customer service in this country. I appreciate that. In fact, that's why I switched. I also appreciate the way they support our vets and our skilled workforce. Dial pound 250, say micro, and get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. That's pound 250 micro. Stop paying twice what you need to pay for the service you want and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A low tonight down to 67 degrees. Mostly cloudy to overcast Friday, though, and a high of 81. It's going to turn a little less humid, though, and there is a 20% chance for a shower anywhere from midday through the evening hours. Low chance, but not out of the question to see a brief little shower on Friday. Saturday would be morning to early afternoon. Chance for a shower or thunder shower with a high of 82. And Sunday right now looks dry, partly cloudy, and a high of 84. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL, brought to you by Window World of St. Louis. For replacement windows, doors, and siding, call 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS.
As you know, Vincent's is not just my favorite jeweler. Vincent's is my only jeweler. And I was in recently looking at lab-grown diamonds. These are not glass. They are actual diamonds, but they cost a fraction of a natural diamond. You can check them out at Vincents.com, or better yet, see these lab-grown diamonds in person. You're going to be amazed at the beauty and the price. Vincent's Jewelers, VincentsJewelers.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my favorite go-to store for seafood, gourmet goodness, and tons of wine. It's Stars, 1135 South Big Bend. A huge selection of seafood flown in from the coast. Lemon sole, halibut, Maryland lump, crab, Gulf shrimp, and you gotta try the trout dip. Plus, imported and domestic hand-cut cheeses, lots of hand-picked wines at great prices, hard-to-find gourmet foods, and fresh roasted coffee using only the best quality beans. Stars, 1135 South Big Bend, just off of Highway 40.
On the next
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story. The house of mysterious death in Peebly, Missouri.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
can just confirm on the record that there is a tentative deal that has been agreed for a 60-day extension of the ceasefire and then a continuation of nuclear talks.
Again, it's always a mistake to get out ahead of the president, so it is all going to be the president's decision. I think that we can see that the president very clearly stated his three: the open the strait, highly enriched uranium, no nuclear program.
Well, you got the Treasury Secretary there weighing in on international matters, but Scott Bessent's pretty much a Renaissance man there, and he could handle the questioning from the media today on the latest developments regarding the potential end of the current hostilities in the Middle East. Chris and I will break all that down with Steve Bucci at 425 today regarding that and so much more. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Mr. Jones. How are you?
Doing just fine. You know, Chris, I know we're supposed to get right into the red meat and all that and Jeff Allen and blah, blah, blah. But I just have to say, This is one of my favorite weeks of the year because you and I and Joey have our birthdays basically in the same 7 to 8 day period, which means our wonderful den mother, Michelle Rush, who makes treats for every single I can't believe she still does this for us. She's way too accommodating. She makes treats for everybody's birthday at the station, and the station has grown dramatically. So this week we had, Joey and I are on the same day, and we had a holiday. So I was celebrated on Tuesday. Joey is celebrated today. You're going to be early next week,
I think. Wednesday, the 3rd.
Next week. Yes. Yep, next week. And so we have had
You're forgetting. Don't forget the great Larry Connors.
And Larry Connors.
His birthday is right after mine on Sunday.
And Commander Connors. The four of us. So we're all gaining weight over these last couple weeks. I was a peanut butter chocolate thingamajobber that was absolutely delicious. Joey, I didn't know, Joey, that there was that many varieties of Pop-Tarts. I had lost track. Joey requested Pop-Tarts, and boy, did Michelle deliver.
I heard Big Boss Joe Rush the other day trying to make a sandwich with some toasted bread. And we've been in this building 3+ years, and he came out to his beautiful wife, our den mother, Michelle, and he said, "Do we have a toaster?" She said, "No, we've never had a toaster." So that just made me think, I bet Joe would love it if we had a toaster here for my birthday, and then that toaster just lives here for the rest of time.
Joey, I do have one request. If you do request Pop-Tarts next year, could you request the cherry Pop-Tarts instead of the strawberry Pop-Tarts? I like those better.
Now, I did say, Michelle, go crazy. Anything, any flavor, I don't care. Just stay away from the medicine-flavored ones. And she said, oh, that's Chris's favorite. He loves the medicine-flavored ones. And
I love Pop-Tarts. I grew up on Pop-Tarts, so it was a welcome surprise to come in and see a wide variety of Pop-Tarts in the studio.
Did bring back a lot of childhood memories for me as well.
Did you used to eat the crust around the crust first and then eat the...
This is the weirdest question I've ever heard.
I would. Yeah.
Did you eat the whole Pop-Tart? What are you talking about?
I used to eat the crust first,
really,
around the edges, and then I would eat
and
the
then
sweet
get
part.
into the filling. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, happy birthday, Joey, to you again, and we will celebrate Chris and Commander Connors next week and onward and upward.
You want to know what I requested? I request the same thing every year.
Yeah. What do you?
Either a chocolate cake
yes,
with
you're
chocolate
the
icing,
you're the chocolate
or either cupcakes with chocolate icing.
Ooh.
I am a chocolate fiend.
Ooh, yeah. My daughter, Abby, had her birthday May 20th, and Chris, we still have these are so big. We got these big cupcakes from one of the big cupcake places in town. I can't remember the name of it. There's a couple of famous cupcake places. These things are huge. You would love them because one of them was chocolate on chocolate. Yeah, chocolate on chocolate.
Was it from Jilly's over in East City?
That might have been it.
Yes.
That might have been it.
Those things, man, they're a meal in themselves. They've got like a ton of icing on them. They put sprinkles and all these different things on them.
Yes, they
do.
Very,
very good.
Well, I'm looking forward to your chocolate surprise next week. And I don't know, what is Larry's favorite delicacy? Do you have any idea? I don't remember.
Cigars and gambling.
we may get like a bucket of whiskey.
Exactly.
Yeah, a bucket of whiskey next week, indeed. Well, happy birthday to all of us. For any of you celebrating birthdays, happy birthday to you, and thanks for joining us here on Thursday. Man, Thursday already here in the short holiday week where we are cramming 5 days of material and assignments and duties into 4. Hope you're surviving as well. Steve Bucci, as we mentioned, at 4:25. Hey, what's up at 4:45 with Chris's Corner?
Yes,
today?
The title of today's Chris's Corner is Crime, Chaos, and the Collapse of Common Sense. This is a story, Tim, that you and everyone listening is going to just be shaking their heads, scratching their heads. The liberals, I always say that old saying by Michael Savage, liberalism is a mental disorder, Well, this story proves that liberalism is a mental disorder.
I've been thinking that a lot this week because for whatever reason it must be the algorithm because I researched a couple of his quotes. James Tallarico keeps popping up on my Twitter X feed. And that lunatic has said one insane thing after. He's bonkers, man. I mean, and he's really obsessed with trans kids. Yeah. I mean, he on and on and on about trans kids. I'm like, this dude's a weirdo. So I don't know how any Texan can vote for him. But anyway, that's just me.
You know, speaking of trans, you saw that note that was sent out to our text string yesterday about Massachusetts is having a trans period day for those trans that feel that they need the right to celebrate their menstrual cycle, which they don't have any. And they'll actually be giving out free feminine napkins at this thing for trans women.
Will Governor Tim Walz be there?
Who knows?
Tampon Timmy.
Who knows? But
I get so confused. I guess because my mind works. I was taught actual biology in high school and college. So when they start talking about men who menstruate or women who do this and the trans, I get so confused because, Chris, to me, and maybe I'm an old fuddy-duddy, middle-aged guy, it all becomes a bunch of gobbledygook because it doesn't translate in my mind because it's all made up.
Tim, does this translate for you? Listen to this. This is the Trans Period Pride. That's the name of the event.
Trans Period Pride.
It says, join Mass Now and the Massachusetts Trans Political Coalition for a consciousness-raising discussion of menstrual equity and the experiences of trans menstruators.
I don't know what that means. I'm very confused. And you know what I immediately thought of? We're screwed if we don't stop this. Because what do you think the Russians and the Chinese are thinking when they see, because they see this stuff. They must be thinking themselves, well, we'll be taking over them pretty soon because these are the things that the United States of America is worried about these days.
And then, Tim, all those who are attending this event, it is a catered dinner.
I'm going to vomit.
And each attendee gets free period underwear provided to all attendees.
Stop. Oh, man. I can't.
Yeah.
I just can't.
What is a man going to do with? I mean, they should be like urging these people to get prostate exams, not talking about their make-believe menstrual cycles.
Their mamas need to take them out back and slap them silly.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying. I mean, what happened to these people?
I don't know.
Where did they go wrong?
Reminds me of that time when I went to the University of Michigan. I went to the men's restroom, and there were feminine hygiene products in the men's restroom. And I was asked the security guard, why are there these in the men's restroom? And all he said to me was, welcome to a college campus, sir. That's exactly what he said to me with a straight face. Welcome to a college campus, sir.
I think a few years ago we kind of tiptoed around this a little bit. We didn't want to offend anybody. I'm done with it. I think we have to go on the offense. This is not right. It's wrong. They need to stop doing this to kids. This needs to be a fad that gets dead and buried because it's real. And it's also stupid for us as a nation to be so focused on this. When there's wars going on in the world, there's crises, there's famine, there's sickness, there's all sorts of geopolitical tensions, and we're worried about, Massachusetts is worried about, what'd you call it, Trans what day?
It is Trans Period Pride.
Trans Period Pride Day.
Yeah.
That's what Massachusetts is worried about. Instead of all the things I just...
Trans Period Pride. You know, we've talked many times about all the people that are fleeing Massachusetts for low tax states. Maybe this is another reason why they're fleeing, because the inmates have taken over the asylum, basically.
Yeah. They don't put up with that in DeSantis land, otherwise known as Florida. They sure don't at all. Well, sorry, but I'm going to continue the insanity today with the Speaker's stump speech. I have the worst media misses over the last couple weeks. Yes, that could be a 2-hour show in and of itself, but I have some of the, well, they're not highlights, the lowlights of some of the insane things that some of the media have said. I'm sure most of you have probably not seen these things because you don't watch shows like The View or whatever's going on MS Now these days. But we do these things. We read these things. We watch these things so you don't have to, just to show you how far gone the lunatic left is. At 5:25, frequent friend of the show, supporter of the station, Representative Dr. George Hruza. George Hruza will join us. Haven't had him on in a while. Legislative wrap-up event coming June 4th next week at the Lodge of DePere. George is one of the panelists there, so he'll talk to us about some of the he'll give us a little preview of what he's going to discuss in that legislative issue, and we'll talk about all of the 2026 ballot questions that the governor ascertained over the last week as to where those would be. Got some big ones coming up August 4th, got some big ones coming up in November, and Chris, great reminder, we're going to be on vacation, family vacation, the week of the primary, so we're all going to vote early or absentee or whatever you do these days. And it's a great reminder that everybody has a very busy summer plan. Do not forget about the August 4th primary. Very important decisions will be made on that day, and you better make sure your voice is heard as well. We'll remind you as we get closer. So Dr. George will cover all of that stuff with us and more at 5:25. And how about what's coming up at 5:45?
Tim, a new denomination of U.S. currency may be on the way, and I'll give you all of the information on that.
Does it have Donald Trump's face?
It'll be a $250 bill.
Okay, I better not spoil it.
You almost spoiled it.
I will not ask any more questions.
Hey, speaking of trans, this has been in my story for a while. Did you hear the story about the Texas Children's Hospital must create the country's first detransition clinic under settlement with now Republican nominee Ken Paxton?
Now we're talking.
The hospital create a detransition clinic. They have to fire 5 physicians and pay the state $10 million under a settlement. The clinic will focus on providing medical care to patients who had undergone gender-affirming health care and work toward reversing its effects.
That's good news.
It's very
good news indeed. And if you want to get somebody fired up about the whole trans industry, talk to a center-right doctor, like a Dr. Tolber, especially a Dr. Bob Onder. And they know the medicine, right? Because they had to study biology for most of their careers. They know the science. They know the chemistry. They know how the body reacts or does not react to things. They get incensed when they hear about this because they're like, you literally have people who are not doctors, who are not medical professionals, literally trying to play God and treating children like little Mr. Potato Heads or pincushions.
And you know the famous saying in politics is follow the money, and we've talked about this many times. The transition industry is scheduled to be a $10 billion industry by the end of this decade. So it's a money grab more than anything. These doctors who have no ethics are making a ton of money transitioning these kids who have mental issues more than physical issues.
Look, I don't begrudge anybody who wants to make a buck, but when you talk about something as horrific as that, how do you sleep at night? Yeah. You're cashing in on other people's mental distress and suffering. And we've had so many stories that they're not anecdotal anymore. These kids that are convinced either by their teachers or other people in their life that should be, other people that should be father figures, mother figures, sometimes the mothers and fathers themselves, they're convinced at extremely young ages that because, Bobby likes to play with dolls or Susie likes to play with Tonka trucks, that, let's go ahead and start lopping off body parts and make you something that you're not.
And I think some of these doctors have rationalized this by thinking that they're helping these kids with their mental care, that they are suicidal, and if they don't transition to the body that they think they are, they may commit suicide. So I think that's how a lot of them rationalize it, along with they're making a lot of money, too.
Indeed. That reminded me of the abortion industry as well, another industry that makes multi-billions of dollars off of other people's suffering, pain, and loss. And Chris, it was a great event last night. I want to thank Curtis Carell and Carell Roofing. Chris, there's not a lot of business owners that would have the courage to have a pro-life event at their property with a bunch of public officials. There were protesters.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Yeah, and I walked in. I said, Curtis, you put on a heck of an event. You got protesters outside. And he said he was very proud. He was beaming. If we had more people like him and Rick Pogue and all of our advertisers, Royal Banks, who you're going to hear from in a minute later today on a little live read Chris has got coming up. These are people that believe in what we do. We believe in what they do. And the fact that they are willing to open their doors and advocate for life. It was a packed house. The governor was there. Senator Schnelting was there. Bob Onder was there. Bill Eigel was there. I was very proud of Bill and Mike Keogh being in the same room together. They shook hands. They were nice. And everybody was there for one cause, and that's to protect and promote life. And I asked Curtis, I said, what did you think about doing this? Did you have any reservations? He goes, no, because it's the right thing to do.
And these businesses are courageous that are strong enough to do this, because we know what happens with the left. They'll end up writing bad reviews for your business, end up doxing you and having people coming to your house, protesting. So I applaud any business that gets out on a limb like that and takes on a very important social issue.
Yep, that'll be for Amendment 3. That'll be in November. So we'll remind you of that as it gets closer. But Amendment 3, the new good Amendment 3, new improved Amendment 3, that was what that event was for. There'll be many more of those over the next few months. I bet you we as a station will be involved in many of those.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
A couple big events next week. We've got the St. Charles County Executive Debate on Tuesday. We'll have a live broadcast. Jamie Allman will be moderating the debate itself. There are no tickets. It just show up. Show up at Lindenwood Schneidiger Center. Program begins at 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. That'll be Tuesday. And then Chris and I were honored to be asked to help reopen the Republican Central Committee of St. Louis County's GOP headquarters down there at Gravois Bluffs. Yep, they're coming back. They're having a big open house. Chris and I will be there with producer Joey V. Next Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. And then there will be light refreshments to follow.
That's going to be a great event. Always have a fun time at the GOP headquarters. Come on out and have a good time.
It will be indeed. All right, 4:22 in the p.m. We have a ton of questions for Steve Bucci. We want to know, are we heading towards peace in the Middle East, or is the war going to rage on? Poll came out the other day showing that the Russian people are sick and tired of the Russia-Ukraine war. Does that mean anything, or is it whatever Putin decides? Steve Bucci will answer all those questions and more when Chris and I return here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A low tonight down to 67 degrees. Mostly cloudy to overcast Friday, though, and a high of 81. It's going to turn a little less humid, though, and there is a 20% chance for a shower anywhere from midday through the evening hours. Low chance, but not out of the question to see a brief little shower on Friday. Saturday would be morning to early afternoon. Chance for a shower or thunder shower with a high of 82. And Sunday right now looks dry, partly cloudy, and a high of 84. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hungry at midnight? Craving a home-cooked breakfast at noon? At Gingham's Homestyle Restaurant, we've got ya 24 hours a day. For 35 years, folks have been coming back for our famous fried chicken, bone-in catfish, country fried steak, slow-cooked pot roast, scratch-made pancakes, or a slice of homemade pie. Daily specials and a loyalty rewards program that actually pays off. There's always a reason to come back to Gingham's Restaurant in St. Charles. Skip the wait. Join our waitlist on Yelp or at ginghamsrestaurant.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Something big is happening in St. Louis County, and you're invited.
Join us for the grand reopening of the St. Louis County Central Committee's brand new headquarters, and it's an open house you don't want to miss.
Stop by Wednesday, June 3rd at 794 Gravois Bluffs for light appetizers, beverage, and a chance to meet your Central Committee members. Plus, Chris and I will be there live.
Join Tim and me and tour the new headquarters. That's Wednesday, June 3rd, 794 Gravois Bluffs.
Please, please tell me now. Please, please tell me now. Please, please tell me now. Please, please.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, driving the leftist crazy all afternoon.
This morning, as the strikes strain the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran, at home, President Trump defending the war, sitting next to his defense secretary.
They are starting to give us the things that they have to give us, and if they do, that's great, and if they won't, then the man on my left is going to finish them off.
The president insisting he's not concerned with the war's political consequences heading into the critical midterm elections, saying Iran's new leaders have misjudged him.
They thought they were going to outweight me. You know, we'll outweight him. He's got the midterms. I don't care about the midterms.
Steve Bucci, visiting fellow for Special Ops at the Heritage Foundation.
Oh, yes. What were you about to ask me?
Do you expect me to talk?
And as he does every Thursday, Steve Bucci, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Steve, how are you, my friend?
I am well. It's great to be back on the show. Thanks for having me.
Oh, every week. Always love to have you. Steve, of course, apparently there is a memorandum of understanding for a 60-day agreement to cease hostilities. I know you don't do politics. You're our military foreign affairs guy. But I've been saying this for the past 6 to 8 weeks, that I am afraid that Iran is playing a rope-a-dope and is trying to recreate the same strategy that destroyed Jimmy Carter's presidency back in '79. Your thoughts, sir?
I agree 100%, and I would say also totally tainted the presidencies of both Barack Obama and Joe Biden. They had a lot of other things who did that, too, in that case. So did Jimmy Carter. But I agree. I think the president has given the Iranians way too much time, way too much opportunity to do mischief, to lie, to dissemble. I think he should have shut it down and gone back to kinetic a while ago. I'm glad to see we're at least starting to hit salient targets right now again. And I think that needs to continue, particularly since we now have lots of evidence of the degree to which the Iranian people were rising up against the regime there now that the Internet has been reestablished. We need to take advantage of that and support that. And that they want us to hit the targets and not just talk to these guys. So hopefully the president runs out of patience like now and goes back to kinetic to finish this thing off.
Yeah, Steve, I was going to ask you about the whys of that. You know, the minute that the president fired the first shot, all of his critics were given their rhetorical ammunition, right? And so stopping or pausing really only seems to put the administration in a more difficult position versus just, as you said, finishing the job. Do you think that they thought along the way that there was were they giving the Iranian leadership, whatever the heck that is these days, more benefit of the doubt than they should have? And now we really just need, whatever the military mission was, it needs to be completed at this point.
That's my point of view. I know. President Trump is sensitive to people saying, you're being a warmonger, you're doing all this crazy stuff. When he's not doing anything crazy, he's doing what's very, very reasonable in stopping the Iranian regime from getting a nuclear weapon. We found out that they made a lot more progress on their missile technology than we even thought, or at least I knew about. I hope somebody in our government knew about it. And there's continued support of the proxies. And then in the middle of it, they came up with this wacky idea that they somehow own the Straits of Hormuz. And they're trying to make, lemonade out of the lemons that President Trump initially handed them by doing the same long-term, oh, yeah, we want to talk, we'll come to an agreement, but we can't do these things. Well, those are exactly the things that President Trump has made as the four key demands against them. We need to go back to kinetic. This is taking too long. It's given them too much opportunity that, frankly, they don't deserve that kind of trust. And we need to go back, not beating up all of Iran by any means, but the IRGC, the remnant of the mullahs, the small percentage of people in power need to be removed. And when I say removed, I'm using a euphemism. If they want to run away and go somewhere else, that's fine. If they don't, we should kill them.
Steve, it's reported that the U.S. took delivery of 172 Patriot interceptors in fiscal year 2026. We've used more than 1,000 in this war. You have worked in the high levels in the Pentagon. You know what our inventory is. Could this be a reason for the pause in the hostilities, that we're running out of weapons?
No, absolutely not. That is a total red herring. We do need to keep track. We're not just shooting them in the air, or not aiming at anything. We're using them effectively. We have enough. We have enough of those Patriot missile ammo to defend Europe, to defend the Middle East, and to defend our homeland and other places we deploy. We are not running out of those at this point. Should we up the production of them? Absolutely. But we were saying that long before we went to war. So no, that people that are saying that, don't buy it, guys. That is not, some restriction on our ability to fight this war. Frankly, we're not using that many of them now. They're not shooting that many missiles at us as they were at the beginning. We have more than enough ammo to meet all of our needs, as long as we get with the people and get them to continue to build. If you just stopped cold right now, that wouldn't work.
Speaking to Steve Bucci of the Heritage Foundation, Steve, and I think what some critics of the efforts in the Middle East are completely turning a blind eye to is the fact that the radicals have declared war, not just in that area, but all across the planet, including here in the United States. Steve, we just saw another headline today regarding such actions where 3 people have been wounded in a Swiss train station by a bladed weapon. So, yeah, other things besides guns do actually hurt and kill people. And these attackers shouted the phrase, Allahu Akbar, during the attack. So, Steve, the jihad is no longer limited to some place way far over there amongst a small band of lunatic terrorists, is it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it hasn't for a long time. We fought the global war on terror for 2 decades. And, anybody who is truthful will tell you we clearly didn't get everybody. Mm-hmm. And, as these guys continue to radicalize people online in other countries and encourage them to take supportive action for their radical agenda, they're going to pop up. They're not going to go away. That's why we have to stay vigilant. We have to work together with our other allies, even the ones who say stupid things. We can't just cut them loose. We've got to stay connected with them and working together with them from an intelligence standpoint to continue to stop these folks before they can do lots and lots of damage. It's sad that this knife attack occurred, but that's not a strategic strike. That's not blowing up or using chemical weapons to kill hundreds or thousands of people simultaneously. So, if we could keep it to things like this, then we keep it at the police level, and we can deal with it. But we can't just think it's gone away and this is not an issue. It's like the nukes being built or sought by Iran. The people on the left in the United States and in Europe say, well, this is not a big deal. Mm-hmm. They didn't really have anything. Well, I'll tell you what, if you wait until they do, it's not going to be an issue for debate. It's going to be an action by that regime if we don't stop them. So we've got to continue to fight this fight and fight it hard.
Steve, a week or two ago, U.S. and Nigerian forces killed ISIS's global second in command. How much of a threat is ISIS still?
They're out there. They're mostly broken down by their affiliates. So even though they have, their global organization, even those guys are spread out and are working with the affiliates and local levels. That group is in Nigeria. They have a little reach into other parts of Northern Africa, but they're not really a global capability. But remember, those are also the people who are sitting there on their computers going to these radical websites and dark web places to radicalize folks to cause problems elsewhere. So ISIS is definitely still a factor in the same way Al-Qaeda is still a factor. Anybody who thinks they're not is crazy. Even if there's only a handful of them, they can still do a lot of mischief. And that's why our intelligence, our police, and our military all have to stay vigilant and stay engaged in this fight.
Yeah, Steve, I had the same question as Chris. I saw that the other day as well. And so the other question I have about this is, how many of these groups are out there, if we even know? Where do they come from? And are they all funded by Iran? Do they all kind of want their own identity, their own club, their own, terroristic club, and then they get a connection to someone in Iran, and that's where is that where most of the funding comes from that makes these little cells into actual named groups, and then they become the new, terrorist jihadis du jour?
Not entirely. Al Qaeda and ISIS are radical Sunni groups. So they are, even though the Iranians help Hamas, which is nominally a Sunni group, Al Qaeda and ISIS have not really had a big connection to Iran because they have very different theologies, and they both think the other guys are apostates from true Islam. So some of them are just radicalized through these already existing groups and swear allegiance to them, and a lot of them switch their big buddies. A lot of the ones who were originally aligned with Al Qaeda switched over to ISIS when it appeared they were the baddest guys on the block from the Sunni side. And then some of them went back to Al Qaeda later. So we just have to keep track of all of them. There's a couple of big shots. Iran is the biggest, but they mostly focus on fellow Shia. But Al Qaeda and ISIS are out there, and some of them do work together now and then, but not comprehensively. That's mostly sort of alliances of convenience for a particular operation or in a particular area. So that's why the intelligence element of it is so critical. It's not that easy to divine who is who sometimes. It takes the experts. It takes those really smart, analysts that are sort of Jack Ryan levels of intelligence, to use Tom Clancy's character, to put the pieces together. We have those folks working for us, and they're working hard to protect us, but it is a tough lift.
Steve, I got to tell you, I am really impressed with the Philippine president's cojones. He said the other day that his country would get involved in any conflict involving Taiwan. What type of military assistance could they aid Taiwan with, and how big a deal is this Philippine president saying this?
The Philippines don't have that much stuff to offer other than their location is critical because really we're the only ones who are big enough to really tilt the balance if mainland China comes after Taiwan. But that would require us, that's definitely an away game for us. It's Navy heavy, aircraft heavy. Having the Philippines in the fight, having access to their facilities and ports and airports would be critical in us doing that and doing it effectively. The Philippines, their military is not that big, but they are very capable. So they could put in some of their special operators to help the Taiwanese. But the Taiwanese have some really crackerjack fighters themselves. They're just a lot smaller than China. So, and they're right across the straits from each other. So that's going to be a naval battle for us, and a naval and air battle specifically for the Chinese, who can, use land-based forces to reach Taiwan as well. A lot of it, they have really good interceptors for missiles already. We would probably have to help them with some of that as well. But right now, the biggest thing we can do to dissuade China from getting involved in Taiwan is to finish off the Iranians. Because that will send a message to China that we're serious, and will also make China beholden to America for its energy needs. And that will make them behave, frankly, a lot more than any sort of kinetic threat to them.
Steve, look into your crystal ball. What do you think we'll be talking with you about next week?
Hopefully about how successful a kinetic restart in Iran will be. And hopefully the fact that the government of the mullahs is gone, has moved out, or are all eliminated, and the Iranian people are now back running their own lives and managing their own country. That would be my hope. I don't know if we can do that in a week, but hopefully we'll be moving in that direction.
Spring's eternal.
Exactly. That's Steve Bucci, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation, heritage.org, and on X, S. Bucci. Steve, thank you as always for your insight, my friend.
It's my pleasure, guys. I always enjoy chatting with you. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
All right, 443, crime, chaos, and the collapse of common sense. You're not going to believe this story. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A low tonight down to 67 degrees. Mostly cloudy to overcast Friday, though, and a high of 81. It's going to turn a little less humid, though, and there is a 20% chance for a shower anywhere from midday through the evening hours. Low chance, but not out of the question to see a brief little shower on Friday. Saturday would be morning to early afternoon, chance for a shower or thunder shower with a high of 82. And Sunday right now looks dry, partly cloudy, and a high of 84. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The news and talk.
I'm optimistic that during the summer we will see gas with a 3 in front of it sooner rather than later.
That matters to St. Louis.
The energy prices, while painful, are not going to be around forever.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson. Mario's Donut Restaurant, that's your place to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From mouth-watering sandwiches, omelets, delicious gyros, and Mexican dishes, to their revamped menu with cannolis, tiramisu, baklava, and danishes. And don't forget those famous donuts. Dine in or carry out, Mario's friendly staff is ready to serve you with love and care. Mention News Talk STL when you visit, or just visit mariosdonutrestaurant.com.
Hey, Jamie Ullman here for Window World. Did you know that Window World offers a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor? They are one of the only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Window World St. Louis has been owned and operated by a group of born and raised St. Louis residents for more than 23 years, and now Window World is offering 36 months same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today, 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
There are over 20,000 studies on vitamin D, and we still treat it like an afterthought. And cortisol, it's misunderstood. This week, we break down the real science between metabolism, inflammation, and midlife hormone shifts. Don't miss it.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney. Saturdays at noon on News Talk STL. To find out more about Simply Health Integrated Medical, log on to simplyhealthintegrated.com.
When you count on Connor, you're getting the timeless American values that have guided our company from day one. Hard work, impeccable service, and honesty. Connor Roofing, you aren't just getting a roof, you're getting safeguarded by a neighbor who cares. When you count on Connor,
Visit ConnorRoofing.com.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Chris's Corner, brought to you by The Dental Link on Manchester and Baldwin or at dentallink.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Court documents spelled out that there was a man who was an employee of a government agency that was found with $40 million worth of gold bars in his home. If you're wondering how many gold bars that is, the court document says it's about 308. That man was not just an employee of any agency. He was a high-level official with top-secret clearance in the CIA, and that he not only lied about what he was doing with this money, but that allegedly he also lied about his background, said that he graduated from a college he did not attend, that he went to a graduate school he did not attend, and that he had a pilot's license that the FAA said he did not have. So he was arrested last week.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Boy, they haven't released the name of that person yet, but I sure hope they don't have a Chinese surname. But anyway.
Wow. How many gold bars?
308
Wow.
gold bars. Boy, talk about flossing. Here's another story about stealing. For years now, Americans have watched stores lock up toothpaste, deodorant, and baby formula like they're diamonds in a jewelry case. We've seen videos of mobs storming stores, cleaning out shelves, and walking right past employees who are told not to intervene. And now, finally, Congress is trying to do something about organized retail crime. But here comes the activist groups. The Vera Institute of Justice and Dream.org are launching a campaign to stop bipartisan legislation cracking down on organized retail theft. Why? Because they say it's too tough on crime. Think about how upside down that sounds. We're not talking about a teenager stealing a candy bar. We're talking about organized criminal networks hitting stores across state lines, laundering stolen goods online, intimidating employees, and driving businesses out of communities. These are professional operations, and Americans are sick of pretending this is just petty theft. But the activist class still refuses to admit the obvious. When you remove consequences, crime increases. These groups say the bill could lead to more incarceration. Yeah, I hope so. You know what else leads to suffering? Elderly people afraid to shop, workers terrified during smash and grab robberies, small businesses closing because theft wipes out their margins, entire neighborhoods losing stores because corporations decide it's no longer worth the risk. That's the part the soft on crime crowd never talks about. Notice something else here. This bill is bipartisan. Republicans and Democrats support it because retail crime has become impossible to ignore. But even modest efforts to restore law and order are now treated like a moral evil by activist organizations whose ideology always seems to side the criminals over victims. And listen carefully to this argument they're making. They don't want DHS or ICE involved because they, quote, can't be trusted. Translation, they're more worried about immigration enforcement than organized theft rings operating across America. That tells you everything. The left spent years demonizing police, lowering penalties, emptying jails, and redefining crime as a social justice issue. The result? Retail theft exploded, business fled cities, and ordinary Americans paid the price through higher prices, locked shelves, and unsafe communities. Now, they want more crime prevention programs and fewer consequences. America already tried that experiment. Real compassion is protecting law-abiding citizens. Real justice is defending the cashier, the customer, and the store owner, not making excuses for organized criminals. This shouldn't even be controversial. If you steal, traffic stolen goods, and terrorize businesses, there should be consequences. Because when government stops protecting the civilized order, society starts sliding toward chaos, and Americans are tired of the chaos. That is Chris's Corner. Yeah, I noticed. It was just crazy to me, razor blades are locked up. Okay, they're kind of expensive, but I knew this was out of control when laundry detergent was locked up.
Yes.
I was like, laundry detergent? Seriously?
Stores now have entire areas cordoned off where I guess they put their not high-priced goods, but goods that tend to walk out of the store. And I was at a Walmart. I told the story a few months ago. I was at a Walmart in West Des Moines, Iowa. Chris, it's even gotten that bad in West Des Moines, Iowa. There's an entire section of the store that's cordoned off with its own cash register with items that I guess are known to be stolen. I don't steal things, so I'm not in the industry.
Right.
But I walked in and I'm like, I guess these are like smaller items that are kind of more expensive. So that's what happens. And you know what happens after a while? The stores will finally give up and they'll close. They'll close and they will leave. And this is a shame because we need stores like this in all parts of America, urban and suburban. And Chris, you remember, we're not that old. Not that long ago, there used to be a ton of law and order Democrats. Law and order Democrats. They're almost all gone.
That's the reason why Schnucks Markets has left the inner city, because of theft. And I remember when they closed their last store, which was down there on Grand by the water tower, all of the activists came out and was blaming Schnucks for leaving the neighborhood and how dare you do this. And it's like, look, Schnucks is not a charity. They're there to make money. They're in business to make a profit. They can't make a profit when people are stealing from the shelves. But they were blaming them, saying that they were, just this rich company, these rich people that don't care about poor black people. So that's why they're leaving.
We've tried communism and socialism in this country in many different ways. Many societies. Hey, let's just Panera tried this for a while. Remember they were like, you can pay whatever you want.
I remember they had one of those in Clayton.
That didn't
last very long.
5 minutes.
I remember that.
Because we live in a barter society. You give me something, I give you something. And if you don't charge proper value, people will take advantage of that. Even if they're not stealing, they'll say, "Oh, you mean I can have lunch for $1, even though it cost you $15 to make that?" Well, you said I can do what I want, so I'll give you $1. It has to be based around some sort of free market capitalism. And back to your law and order issue, I used to work at a law firm. I was a partner at a law firm, and one of my partners, who was a huge fan of me being in public service, big time Democrat. He was he's retired now, but he was mainly retired. He still practiced a little bit. He was best friends with Buzz Westfall, one of the last great St. Louis County Democrats, big law and order guy.
Former prosecuting attorney.
Yep, former prosecuting attorney. And my former senior partner, Jess, he was one of the county municipal judges, and he had a nickname. It was in jest. He was like, he's the hanging judge, meaning he gave out tough sentences. Big time Democrat. This guy Jess is a big time Harry Truman, JFK Democrat, law and order Democrat. For whatever reason, the Democratic Party has decided they're not in favor of law and order anymore.
No, it's for compassion, and they're all about social justice now. And if people are stealing or committing crimes, it's because of their environment, not because of their actions and because they're just immoral people. And that's where today's Democratic Party is. They want to be a big social party instead of being a law and order party. And that's why they've lost so many of rural America, and that's why they've lost a lot of middle of the road America, because they're no longer for law and order. They're for the underclass basically being able to do whatever they want.
And that may be helpful to them temporarily for their political situation. It may be fun for them or helpful for them, their base. Eventually, though, it's going to crash and fail, because eventually you're going to look around and you go, we don't have any grocery stores in the city anymore. I don't have any Walgreens anymore. I can't buy anything. And then they turn to the politicians and they go, you said that if we did this, everything would be great. And now everything's an absolute failure. So eventually the public policy and the more apt, the culture upstream, the reality starts to bite. And so I just hope they can turn that mess around.
Well, if the latest Emerson College poll says anything, Tim, about the direction that the Democrats are going, I don't see it.
It's the wrong
improving. Listen to this poll. According to this Emerson College poll, Pete Buttigieg is leading the Democratic field, followed by California Governor Gavin Newsom. Pete Buttigieg is who the Democrats want as their next nominee. It's early, but still, he shouldn't even be nowhere near the top.
Where's crazy Queen Kamala and all that? Is she third or fourth? Or?
She's not even, I think she's third or fourth, but...
wow. Pete Buttigieg?
Pete Buttigieg.
How has he impressed anyone?
I don't know.
He almost destroyed the transportation system when he was running it.
Well, remember he was breastfeeding. Was he breastfeeding when him and his
No,
husband
chest feeding.
Chest feed, yeah, chest feeding.
Better watch it, you get canceled.
Exactly.
Chest feeding.
Exactly.
Yes.
And another big story that happened, Tim, we talked about it during the break. Some crazy person or some Democratic activist, I think we can make that assumption, did a swatting incident with Amy Coney Barrett, the Supreme Court justice. Can you imagine how terrifying that is to have SWAT show up at your home, thinking that you're under some type of distress? And they do that type of thing, I think, to terrorize people, of course. But I think they're hoping that somebody has an itchy trigger finger or somebody within that home makes a wrong move and gets shot and killed, and they'd be happy about that.
And you know what's really horrific? She has a ton of I don't know if they're that little anymore, but she has a ton of children, and they're not all grown adults.
Yeah.
And so these people are really playing with fire, and they're going to get someone hurt and killed.
And it makes you wonder, how in the world is somebody finding out where a Supreme Court justice lives? I know public documents, but that's kind of scary.
It is indeed.
All right, we've got the Speaker's Stump Speech at 5:06.
Yes, a multitude of massive media misses over the last 2 weeks.
And then we'll get a legislative update from Dr. George Hruza. He's a state rep from the 89th District. He'll be in studio with us at 5:23. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. I love Capriotti's, and you will too. Visit Capriotti's now at 2 locations on Manchester, McKnight, and Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
Hey there, Chris Cooper here, your financial friend with Serenity Wealth Management, joining us this Sunday right here on News Talk STL for the Serenity Wealth Now show. We've got my friend Joel Hauser. We're going to come in, spend some time talking about protection strategies to protect your income, to protect your assets, and more importantly, the lifestyle you deserve. So tune in right here Sunday morning, 9 a.m. for the Serenity Wealth show, airing right here on News Talk STL or on your Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets. We'll see you then.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm John Scott. Tension still high in the Middle East. That's even after word that a deal with the U.S. may have been reached, something Iran did not immediately confirm.
As ceasefire talks between the U.S. and Iran drag on, the truce has come under another test. The U.S. has carried out a series of strikes on Iranian targets this week, most recently on Wednesday night. It says these strikes are in response to Iranian threats. In the latest incident, Kuwait says it was attacked by Iranian missiles and drones. Iran confirms that it launched a fresh attack in the region. It says this is in response to American aggression. Now, these clashes have not caused the ceasefire to collapse, but they have left the Middle East on edge.
Correspondent Joe Fetterman. And on another battlefront, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky sends a request to the U.S. for more Patriot missiles. We hear from correspondent Karen Chamas.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said he has pushed the U.S. to send Ukraine more Patriot air defense missiles to counter Russian attacks. In a video address, he said he sent a letter to President Donald Trump and Congress earlier this week, but hasn't received a reply. Zelensky also said Thursday during a visit to Sweden that Ukraine has plans to buy 20 Gripen fighter jets and receive 16 older models as a donation. Ukrainian drones are also playing a crucial role in limiting Russian advances by targeting supply routes and frontline positions. I'm Karen Chamas.
The legal battle is growing over cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. The Trump administration is suing 4 Democrat-led states over policies blocking undercover license plates for federal immigration agents. The Department of Justice says the restrictions are interfering with immigration enforcement and putting federal agents at greater risk. More on these stories from townhall.com.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a super fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and data for just $34.99 a month. But wait, there's more. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be switching to an American wireless company that's committed to keeping 100% of its customer service in this country. I appreciate that. In fact, that's why I switched. I also appreciate the way they support our vets and our skilled workforce. Dial pound 250, say micro, and get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. That's pound 250 micro. Stop paying twice what you need to pay for the service you want and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert Forward Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A low tonight down to 67 degrees. Mostly cloudy to overcast Friday, though, and a high of 81. It's going to turn a little less humid, though, and there is a 20% chance for a shower anywhere from midday through the evening hours. Low chance, but not out of the question to see a brief little shower on Friday. Saturday would be morning to early afternoon. Chance for a shower or thunder shower with a high of 82. And Sunday right now looks dry, partly cloudy, and a high of 84. That's the latest from the First Alert Forward Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Psst. Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere, and we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery in St. Peters, St. Charles, Lake St. Louis on Fort Trail, and the original Stephanitas in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Check us out at stepspizza.com. Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
News, analysis, opinion.
Don't always agree, but in love listening to your radio station. This is tyrannical stuff they're doing.
Elections have consequences. This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody shows up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
In a new interview with Rita Braver on CBS Sunday Morning, former First Lady Jill Biden revealed what was going through her mind as she watched this.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
What happened? I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me to death.
But shortly after the debate, she had a very different reaction.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
No, that was not a report from the Babylon Bee or the Onion. That is called, allegedly, legitimate journalism in today's world.
Yeah, I want to say, Joe's out of office. You can stop gaslighting us now.
You can stop pretending.
Yeah, we all know that Joe was not all there, that he's suffering from something, but he should not have been in the presidency. Here's a quote from her memoir, Tim. She said, "Oh, God, will people watching assume this is how he is all the time?"
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is going to lead perfectly into some speech in a minute about the worst media misses. But, Chris, that had to be – I love how now apparently on the anniversary of this debate, which was in June, right, 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I love how we're going to remind everyone how bad it was. I think it's great because people need to be reminded. Okay, so wait a minute, Jill. So you really thought he was having a stroke and you left him up there on the stage? If I thought somebody was having a stroke, I'd be like, okay, stop. He's going down. I mean, yeah, I forgot how bad it was. We beat Medicaid, he said. You know, I mean, what?
Yeah, I think Jill needs to stop gaslighting us. We know that Joe wasn't having a stroke. She sees Joe like that every single day. There was a reason why the president didn't work in the evening. There's a reason why his press availability ended at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because he was probably suffering from sundowners or some type of malady. She saw this 24/7, and now she's trying to tell us she saw none of this, that she thought he was having a stroke. I mean, it's really insulting to my intelligence.
It really is. And to your point also, why are they trying to go back and whitewash this and continue? I mean, enough with the cover-ups. We all know what happened. What happened was Joe Biden declined a long time ago cognitively. You all covered it up, and we basically had a Manchurian candidate in office for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked about this story on the show before. You know, presidents, after they're out of office, they start presidential museums, and donors line up to give money for those libraries and those museums. Joe Biden is having a heck of a time trying to raise money for a library. People won't give him the money, and now they're talking about, instead of him having a library, that they'll just put all of his papers at the University of Vermont instead of an actual facility like most presidents have. Joe Biden and you know, President Trump uses a lot of hyperbole, and he exaggerates a lot. But in this case, when he said Joe Biden is probably the worst president we've ever had, I think the president is spot on with that assessment.
And can we just call things what they are for once? Can we get out of this fake news, disinformation, misinformation land that the national corporate media has been stuck in ever since COVID, and arguably many decades before? But Donald Trump is going to be 80 years old next month. And nobody's questioning his mental faculties, right? No. Bernie Sanders, I believe, is 82, 83.
Yeah, he's older.
Nobody's questioning his mental faculties. We think he's a Looney Tune because of his policies, but you and I aren't sitting here on radio as conservative, common sense conservative radio hosts going, man, that Bernie Sanders, he's really slipping. Yeah. Boy, somebody needs to check him into the old folks' home. He's fine. Can we just be honest that Joe Biden was mentally and cognitively a mess?
And you remember after Biden's presidency, Jake Tapper of CNN
That's right.
started telling the truth about all the things that we saw for the last 4 years from Joe Biden. Wrote a book about it, but during Joe Biden's presidency, he was one of his biggest defenders.
Yeah, it's amazing how the lies.
They were just being mean to an old man.
And here's another good question. Okay, so we know where Jill Biden is, and we know what Jill Biden's doing. Have we seen Joe Biden recently? Has he made any? Like you said, usually presidents go out and they make nice speeches, or where is he on the commencement speech circuit? Why isn't he speaking at various universities and colleges? Because he can't.
He can't.
He cannot get through a speach.
And I also think they don't want him either.
No.
I think that's a big part of it, too.
I think everyone wants to pretend he didn't exist.
Exactly.
And that presidency, it was meant as a stopgap against Donald Trump having 2 terms in a row. They succeeded in doing that, but they really damaged even more everything about their party, and it's really put them in a really tough place. Republicans are going to have a tough year this year. It's a midterm, party in power, and all that. The Democrats should be walking away with this, right? And we're still talking about the fact that, well, looks like the Republicans will probably keep the Senate. And the fact that we're even thinking about them keeping the House is kind of insane, right? Because Democrats should be up 25 seats right now. And it's going to be tough, but because the Democrats have dug such a deep hole, courtesy of Joe Biden, that's where they are.
Yeah, and even their base is saying they don't know what they stand for. They don't know if they want to go in the progressive direction. They don't know if they want to start coming towards the middle of the road. They don't know what direction they should be in right now, and that's showing in the polling. The Republicans are in a world of hurt right now, possibly for the midterm elections, but Democrat polling is in the 20 percentile. They're not doing all that well themselves as a party.
Indeed. Dr. George Hruza is going to tell us about the Republican Party here in the state of Missouri and the accomplishments from the just concluded legislative session. We have 3 huge ballot proposals that all of you will be able to vote on this August and November. In August, we've got number 4 and 5. Number 4 is the Protect Missouri Constitution, IP reform. 5 is the tax cut overhaul. And then number 3 will be in November, the new Amendment 3 to protect life. We'll talk to George Hruza about all that, his personal accomplishments during the legislative session and more at 5:25. And at 5:45, a new denomination.
A new denomination. I'll give a little bit of it away. They're talking about a $250 bill.
You can only guess who might possibly be represented on that. All of that at 5:45. Larry Connor's coming up at 6:05 with a very interesting story behind the story that Chris will tell you about and tease in that last segment. Stick around for the entire hour. It's going to be fantastic. Tomorrow, Chris and I will not be here. We're going on a field trip.
Yeah.
Going on a field trip. We'll tell you all about it when we come back next week. Chris, according to social media, it could be scary.
It could be scary, and I don't know if I want to tell anybody where we're going. You know, this is a controversial issue. It may get doxxed or something.
We'll think about it.
Or so, who knows?
We'll think about it. But Nate Lucas, the intrepid Nate Lucas, who is the communications director for Congressman Eric Burleson, he'll be filling in. He will be filling in ably indeed. We love Nate. He's a frequent flyer at News Talk STL. He and Joey V will have a great time, and they'll even do Joey V's movies. Yes. I bet Nate will have an opinion or two about what you've got going on.
Nate seems like a movie guy.
Yeah. We did a successful test. He's going to be wearing his gamer headset, so hopefully that doesn't mean he's going to be cussing at me like when people play Call of Duty. Like where they slur each other, and it's offensive. You would never want to listen to your son play video games nowadays.
Where will Nate be doing the show from? I thought he'd be in studio.
He's going to be undisclosed location.
Okay, all right.
A bunker in Washington, D.C.
I assume so.
What is the movie tomorrow?
It's Backrooms. There's been this viral YouTube sensation of these portals where if you go into a special area of a furniture store and you end up in a whole other portal universe, we'll see if it was scary. It was billed as a horror film, so I'll talk about it Friday at 5:45.
Oh, I'm going to miss that. 2 in a row I'm going to miss. I'll listen on the app.
Listen to the podcast. Yes, indeed. Download our app and listen to the podcast. All right. Speaking of Dr. Jill Biden and some of the worst media misses of the week, I've got a whole lineup for you from the last couple of weeks, courtesy of our friends at the Media Research Center, and that is the subject of today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
All right, I believe I got 6 of them for you, and you all decide which one of these is possibly the worst media miss of the last 2 weeks. I want to thank our friends at the Media Research Center for sending these out. We talked about this last week. Clueless Katie Tour. Is Mike Johnson putting God over the Declaration of Independence? My first question is, has Katie Tour ever read any of our founding documents? Did she ever go to a history class? What public school, government school did she graduate from? Here's what she said last week. What about this passage from Speaker of the House Mike Johnson declaring that our rights do not derive from government, they come from you, our Creator and Heavenly Father? Is this him putting God over the Declaration of Independence? Yes, because that's what's in the Declaration of Independence. Katie Tour, host of MS Now's Katie Tour Reports, actually said that live on television. And even the CNN panel, led by Scott Jennings, were incredulous about it. Joy Behar last week said, once Trump puts his name on prescription drugs, we're all going to die. Okay? He put his name on the Trump shuttle, the Trump vodka. I don't remember that one. The Trump University, the Trump Hotel. That's actually a really cool place. It's now the Waldorf Astoria in D.C. And my favorite, the casinos that all went bankrupt. Well, number one, that's not true. Number two, I don't know how Donald Trump's name being on your latest prescription for prednisolone or whatever you're taking these days is going to make you die, but that's the brilliance of Joy Behar on ABC's The View. Don't watch it, just come for the clips. And finally, last week, there was Jon Stewart hoping for the electorate to repudiate the putrid Trump administration. Does he know that the Trump administration will not be running for re-election? But some leftists, I think, have even convinced themselves that Donald Trump is never going to leave the White House. Here's what he said. Oh, people, close your eyes and dream. The day that the electorate in this great nation we call home repudiates this putrid administration, the day that happens, my brother, there will be, and I mean this, the day that happens, there will be a joyful noise from the bowels of this great country, that sounds kind of gross, that will make Hungary's repudiation of Viktor Orban look like an Amish Sabbath. That was Comedy Central's Jon Stewart. It's a funny quote, but it's equally ridiculous. What happened this week? Well, we have three more for your pleasure. So check out these three. Eugene Daniels said this, and this is a theme we talked about in the first hour of the show. Eugene Daniels, who's another guy I haven't heard of. He's also on MS Now, a station that I do watch CNN from time to time because they're relatively entertaining, but MS Now, they're just angry. Democrats can win by talking about kitchen table issues like services for trans kids. Not sure when that became a kitchen table issue, but here's the full quote. You can use identity politics, quote unquote, as a kitchen table issue, right? I don't know that you can, but he continued. When you talk about whether or not people can have access to healthy abortions, not sure what that means, safe abortions, that's a kitchen table issue, right? Whether or not a trans kid can get the services they need, that's a kitchen table issue for families. None of the families I know, and I hope none that you know either. Look, people who have transphobia and transphobic issues, I feel for them, but they are not emblematic of the kitchen table issues that any American family discusses. If you look at the DSM-4, the mental disorder book, it's like 0.000 whatever one of society. These are people that need help. They need counseling. Some of them may need some certain types of medications. They don't need steroids. They don't need hormones. And they don't need body parts lopped off. And this is definitely not an issue for the American kitchen table. Sunny Hostin. Seems like The View is in every single one of these. She said, I just think we need to make it clear that there can be no comparison between the Black Lives Matter movement and what we saw on January 6th. I just want to make that clear. Seems like she protests too much. This is the mostly peaceful riot quote repackaged. Here's what she said about the BLM Inc. protests. There were very limited destruction of property and violence during the uprising of the Black Lives Matter uprisings. So she's admitting there, finally, that there were problems. Okay, that's a step. That there was violence, there was destruction of property, but it's no big deal. It was mostly peaceful riots and car bombs and people's businesses getting destroyed, and it was nowhere near January 6th, the holy grail for the lunatic left. And finally, I know you're glad that this is finally coming to an end because this is painful to listen to. Bruce Springsteen got together with Stephen Colbert. Oh, boy. I guess on his last show. Bruce Springsteen, who has become so insufferable, which is such a shame because I really like his music. But I feel like his music is so far afield. Like, he sings about, like, blue-collar things and working-class Americans and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and, you know, kind of the grittiness of America. And then he's such a woke idiot in real life. Bruce Springsteen says, I am here in support tonight for Steven because you're the first guy in America who's lost his show because we've got a president who can't take a joke. And because Larry and David Ellison feel they need to kiss his ass to get what they want. These are small-minded people. They got no idea what the freedoms of this beautiful country are supposed to be about. Well, neither do you, Bruce. And he once again got it completely wrong. Well, there's your top 6 nominees. You decide. It's hard to pick which one's worse than the other, but those are the massive media misses over the last 2 weeks, and that's the subject of today's Speaker Stuff.
Boy, how'd you narrow them down just to that?
Well, I had a list, and I know. Can you believe the things that are said?
Yeah.
It's really amazing. I think my favorite had to be Katie Tour not knowing what exactly the Declaration of Independence actually says about inalienable rights. And this Eugene Daniels guy saying that trans kid issues are kitchen table issues for most Americans.
Yeah, Eugene Daniels used to be a reporter for Politico. Now he is an MS Now contributor, and he is gay.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go, yeah.
There you
he's
have
married.
it.
He's black, and he's married to a white man.
Okay, well.
Just got married last year, I think.
Only in America can you do that.
Yeah, he's the one that, if you look him up, he's the one that wore the dress at the ceremony.
Oh, okie dokie, yeah. Try doing that over in Palestine.
Yeah. Painted his nails.
Did he really?
Wore like a dress.
I'm sure he was gorgeous. RuPaul may have been embarrassed. Yeah, indeed. Oh, my goodness. We're going to get the heck out of this segment, and we're going to get somebody more serious in the studio, but I hope you had fun with that. Dr. George Hruza, representative for the 89th District, he's going to talk to us about the 2026 ballot questions, the dates that those are, and about the legislative wrap-up event that you can attend next Thursday, June 4th, at the Lodge of De Pere. All of that and more when we return. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1, News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A low tonight down to 67 degrees. Mostly cloudy to overcast Friday, though, and a high of 81. It's going to turn a little less humid, though, and there is a 20% chance for a shower anywhere from midday through the evening hours. Low chance, but not out of the question to see a brief little shower on Friday. Saturday would be morning to early afternoon. Chance for a shower or thunder shower with a high of 82. And Sunday right now looks dry, partly cloudy, and a high of 84. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Dr. Michael Lewis, West Point grad, physician, and retired Army colonel, is considered the world's leading expert on the use of omega-3s in brain health. He's also the author of When Brains Collide. Dr. Lewis, a lot of people take fish oil supplements, but how do you know they're working if you're not testing?
Elizabeth, I've come across the biggest breakthrough in my 30-plus years of medicine. What if you could test yourself at home to see if your fish oil supplements are actually working? And then have the right product, a combination of fish oil and olive oil, a perfect Mediterranean diet in a bottle delivered right to your doorstep. This is the answer to the American ultra-processed food diet. Email me at test@brainhealtheducation.org. That's test@brainhealtheducation.org.
Email Dr. Lewis today at test@brainhealtheducation.org and take the first step toward a healthier brain. Your future self will thank you. That's test@brainhealtheducation.org.
This is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the #1 RE/MAX franchise in the region. As a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Results for over 20 years, I've seen the ups and downs of many real estate markets, including the one we're in right now. With the spring market in full swing, now is the time to leap into the buying or selling of your home. Someday is not a day. Today is the day to make your move. Call me at 314-852-8933 or email me at markhardersells@gmail.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
This will be the largest policy decision that differentiates the direction Missouri goes in the future that we've seen potentially in decades. And as part of that policy decision, as you know, Missourians would vote to say we would like to keep our money that we work for in our pockets and not let the government spend it. And that would be substituted with an updating of our sales tax code. That's a monumental lift. So the earlier we can get an indication from Missourians, that gives us more time to work with the legislature and stakeholders before the legislature goes in session in January.
Yeah, important points there from Governor Mike Kehoe about Amendment 5, which will be on our ballot this August. We're going to talk about Amendment 5, Amendment 4, and the just concluded Missouri legislative session with one of our favorite local representatives. He is Dr. George Hruza, represents the 89th District, kind of the mid-St. Louis County district, and he's here now to talk to us about all of that and an event that he's going to be appearing at next week. Lots to get through. Doc, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
You had a busy legislative session.
It was a great session. I mean, of course, I'm just a freshman, so my second year. But we had 100 bills that we passed, which is the most in almost 10 years, I think.
Mm-hmm. And one of the ones, let's start with what the governor was talking about there. Amendment 5 opens the door to revolutionize Missouri's income tax system and tax code. What do you think about that? I think you were a big fan of that proposal.
Absolutely. I spoke in favor on the floor. I co-sponsored the legislation because this is a game changer for Missouri. Missouri's been kind of piddling along in the middle, sort of in the mid-range, while other states, especially Tennessee, I like to say they've eaten our lunch, and we should get that opportunity back. So it's huge. Last year, one of my bills eliminated the Missouri capital gains tax, which I'm already getting good feedback from people who are now able to turn over and reinvest in better and more productive uses. And so the income tax, think about the income tax coming from a communist country.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that there, of course, you pretty much worked for the state. They took almost everything and they give you a little bit what they thought was worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you think about income taxes, you are not working for yourself. You're working for the government part of the time because the income tax is the government insists that you work for them part of the time. So eliminating the income tax is very good policy. It's great for growth. Great for investment, great for population growth. People move to states where there's no income tax. Good to keep kids here rather than moving out of state because the opportunities become much greater. So overall, it's eliminating it is a huge benefit. I know that there is some argument about, well, yeah, but how are you going to pay for it? Well, that's by broadening the sales tax to some services. And that is, obviously, you do have to pay taxes, but now you have more money in your pocket to choose with that money how you're going to spend it.
It's a big difference.
And yes, you're going to pay some tax with those services, but it's now your choice as opposed to the government taking your money and deciding what they're going to do with it.
Representative Hruza, I've had people who don't follow politics as closely as we do. They are under the impression that once this vote takes place in August, that the state income tax will be automatically cut. What is the process that's going to happen if this does pass in August?
Right. Well, this sets up a framework to authorize the legislature to set us on that path to zero. So if the legislature doesn't really do much to replacement for the revenue, then all we would have is that it would basically the income tax would gradually go down if the legislature, they still have to pass a bill on that, but if they don't do anything else, they basically, as there's economic growth, the net revenue from that economic growth goes to reducing the income tax very slowly, it would take about at least 30 years. I actually calculated probably about more like 40 years to get there. So that's really not where we want to go. If we want to make a difference, we do have to speed it up. And what this does is a framework to allow us, the legislature, to lay that up, to get that revenue from that broadening of the sales tax to some services. It is not that we're going to be raising the sales tax to some crazy number, which you sometimes hear. It's really broadening it up. The examples are, for your lawn service, pool service, personal trainer, digital services, accountant services, those kinds of services.
Okay.
We will be exempting. The governor has already said that there would be no sales tax on any healthcare services, real estate, agriculture, which in my mind also includes food.
And Doc, the other couple points that I wanted to talk to you about were you can also rein in spending to help the income tax rate go down faster, like you all did this year. You cut the budget by over $4 billion. You did that. And I believe there's also a component in Amendment 5 that if the sales tax base is broadened to include, I think the biggest unfair thing is brick and mortar stores in Missouri, mom and pop stores, small businesses, they like if there's a store that sells garden gnomes, right? They pay sales tax. But if there's an online store that sells garden gnomes, they don't pay sales tax. So we're talking about these 1,000 or more sales tax exemptions we have. But if that sales tax base is broadened, local governments are going to be required to reduce property and personal property tax, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the silver lining, which a lot of people don't realize, because a lot of people really hate most the personal property tax and some also the personal property tax. And this is written so that any of these changes have to be revenue neutral, meaning any revenue you get, any extra revenue has to be done revenue neutral. So if they get increased money from this broadened sales tax, they have to apply it to personal property tax reduction, or for St. Louis City and Kansas City, earnings tax reduction or
even
elimination.
earnings tax could go down.
That's
Wow.
in there too. And if they don't want to do any of those, then they just have to reduce the overall sales tax rate.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's got to be revenue neutral, and that's in the HAR. This is not something for the legislature to do. This is already in there. The other piece that's in there for people who are concerned about education, it's explicitly in there that we cannot reduce education funding.
Okay.
Based on this.
Fair enough. Chris, I think it's your turn. Yeah.
Representative, one of the major pieces of legislation that you passed this year was anti-Semitic protections for high school and college students. Tell us exactly what your bill entails, and give us, I know people testify in favor of bills. Give us some examples of some horror stories that you were hearing from some folks that testified on behalf of this.
Well, so the bill, I'll just tell you what the bill does. What we needed to deal with is that there have been a huge increase in anti-Semitic incidents, over 300% since the October 7th, 2023 massacre of Jews and others in Israel by Hamas. So there's been an explosion of anti-Semitism, and it's really hit K through 12 schools and then also colleges, universities. That was even more visible. And what we found is that students, when students reported those kinds of incidents, the schools had a hard time in determining if this was really anti-Semitic or was this kind of some random, just a little bit of bullying, but not really something serious. And we also had teachers sometimes guilty of that. So that's why we wanted to get into legislation some clear tools to help the schools. And that's what this IHRA definition of anti-Semitism is. It really lays out what anti-Semitism looks like, so that if you are if something happens at school, you can look at it and decide if there's a problem. But we've had students that were accosted sometimes in classroom, but also in the hallway, that the other kids would come up to them because they may have a Star of David. They say, you Jews, you're killing all these, murdering all these kids you are murdering all these kids in Israel. You deserve to die. Go back to Poland. Go back to the gas chambers. That's the kind of language that Felix. That certainly made them very uncomfortable.
I imagine.
And we now have, the college students. Almost half of college students will hide their Jewish identity because they are just, they feel they kind of have to look over their back. So what this bill does is it puts the tools in place, expects the universities in a non-discriminatory way to address anti-Semitism in school, and then if they do not, then there could be a potential Title VI violation, and would be reported and then looked at, and then every year now there's going to be also publicized the number of those kinds of violations, and we've included in it other discriminatory behavior. So if there's a racist incident, that's included as well. So the bill, it does not just deal with anti-Semitism, even though the definition that we put in is there, and making sure that Jewish students are in the same protected classes as other Title VI issues.
And I've heard you discuss this bill, that you also put protections in here to differentiate between free speech and harassment. Talk about that.
Absolutely. That's the big part of it, and that was what the big part of the debate was. We had it there to begin with, both in the IHRA definition and in the bill, and we've added it 2 more places. So now it says things like that ideologic, religious, and political speech is protected. And then we have some other place that we talk. There's several places that we've added that, and so the concept is we are not trying to regulate speech, and we couldn't anyway because that would be non-constitutional. Right. So that means that if someone is walking down the street and they are shouting out from the river to the sea, and yes, that's anti-Semitic speech. But that is not at all regulated, or we're not doing anything about that. You can be free to do that.
Sure.
I mean, to me, it means you're trying to kill 7 million people.
Right.
That is what that means.
Right.
So I think that's pretty bad. And to me, that's anti-Semitic speech. But that is not what the bill deals with. It deals with is when you go up to a Jew, sort of individually targeted, directed, to tell them, from the river to the sea, that means you are going to be one of those people we're going to dump into the ocean. Then it becomes harassment, intimidation.
Sure.
So that's, to me, the difference. I know it was very difficult. We spent through many cycles to get it across, but that was the intent.
Are you shocked at this rise of anti-Semitism? And in addition to that, it's either ignorance or hatred that people have that they're directing towards Israel and Jewish people now. Chris and I got the amazing opportunity. Chris went twice last year to Israel. I got to go. You've been recently as last October. And it was really eye-opening. And the Israelis just want to live in peace.
Exactly.
And it's such a diverse society. There's no moral equivalency between the state of Israel defending itself and the radical jihadis committing atrocities that some of which we can't even describe on FCC airwaves.
Absolutely, and I've read some of the more recent reports. Absolutely, blood-curdling stuff that they did, especially to women, and how they abused them, basically raped them until they were dead, or they begged to be actually killed because it was so brutal. So yes, it's to me, there's no question that they are fighting a war of. It's a really existential war for Israel, and they do want to live in peace. That's correct, and they are the only democracy. And Palestinians and Coptic Christians and all the other groups that live in Israel have the same rights. They vote. They have parties in the Knesset, and they can serve in the military. They're not required to. That's the one exception. They don't have to, but many of them do serve in the IDF. So that's what Israel wants. They do not want to deal with all this stuff. But this anti-Semitism thing. It to me it was crazy that October 7th, as they were still killing Jews, and not one bomb has dropped on Hamas or in Gaza, and there were people demonstrating. They were just out demonstrating and doing and sometimes rioting.
Mm-hmm.
Totally crazy. But I actually don't think many of these are deep down anti-Semitic. It is a lot of it is just a total misunderstanding or misconstruing what's going on, because when you actually explain it calmly to some of these, they say, well, you know that from the river to the sea, that means that there are 7 million people that you want to wipe off the earth.
Right.
Oh, no, that's not what I want. Or do away with Israel. No, I don't want that.
Yeah.
No, I'm okay with Israel. I just want to make sure the Palestinians are okay. And I get that. But a lot of those, and the globalized intifada, well, guess what that means? It doesn't mean to killing 7 million Jews. It does mean that. But guess what? It means killing 350 million Americans.
Yeah, it means the Christians are next.
Because globalized intifada means all non-believers in terms of non-Islam believers.
Correct.
So,
That's right.
A lot of these young kids, college students especially, have bought into this narrative that Jewish people are occupying that land, and they try to compare it to South Africa and call it an apartheid state.
yeah, well, that is totally absurd if you don't know anything about history. So first off, Jews have been there for several thousand years since they came out of Egypt and got through the Sinai. So there's been a presence, Jewish presence there forever. Yes, it's been occupied multiple times by many people, Romans, the Ottomans, the different groups, and even I think the Crusaders. So, but the Jews have always been some presence there, and the whole idea is, I just mentioned that Israel, all the different people that live in Israel, in the state of Israel, have all the same rights as Israelis, so as Jews. So they're all Israelis. So there is no occupying or settling apartheid. There is no apartheid in the state of Israel.
There's no segregation.
Right.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no segregation. And the other thing, which to me is the most absurd thing, is you have LGBTQ groups that are really eager to support Palestinians and that area, and I think they don't realize what would happen if they actually came there with a pride flag and showed it in Gaza or the West Bank, as opposed to in Israel, where there are more pride flags in Israel than there are, I think, in the U.S.
Tel Aviv.
When you go there.
Yeah,
Tel Aviv.
yeah, very liberal area. People just need to get educated. I mean, to your point, there's a great Amazon series right now called House of David.
Yeah.
Watch a TV series, pick up a history book, and learn what's really happened in that region, as you mentioned, over the last thousands of years. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Doc, before we let you go, you are going to be on a panel next week. I believe I'm helping moderate that and herd the cats. June 4th at the Lodge of De Pere. You're going to be doing a full legislative wrap-up, I believe, with a couple of your colleagues, John Simmons and Phil Olerking. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, looking forward to June 4th. We did something like that last year, and it was very well attended and I think informative. And so I think people were happy. And I'm also running for re-election, so
yes,
I will put my plug in there.
Website?
Hruzaformissouri.com. Hruzaformissouri.com.
And for those who don't know how to spell Hruza, tell them.
Oh, H-R-U-Z-A.
Hruza. Hruza for Missouri. Just sound it out. HruzaForMissouri.com. He's also on Facebook, Hruza for Missouri. The event next week is free. Just go to MissouriRiverGOP.org to RSVP so they know they have enough chairs set up for everybody. That is next week, next Thursday, I believe, 6:30 p.m. The event begins at the Lodge of De Pere. Put on by Marty Bennett and Niles Stevens, two local committeemen who do these events 3 or 4 times a year. Thanks, Doc, for coming in.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we appreciate you very much. All right, Chris and I will be back right after this. One final segment, a new denomination.
Yes, Dr. Hruza will probably carry this note.
He
around.
probably will
Yeah.
in his little money clip. Yeah, he'll have a couple of these. All of that and more.
$250 note.
All of that and more. And Larry Connors, USA, coming at you next. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019, 94.1, News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A low tonight down to 67 degrees. Mostly cloudy to overcast Friday, though, and a high of 81. It's going to turn a little less humid, though, and there is a 20% chance for a shower anywhere from midday through the evening hours. Low chance, but not out of the question to see a brief little shower on Friday. Saturday will be morning to early afternoon. Chance for a shower or thunder shower with a high of 82. And Sunday right now looks dry, partly cloudy, and a high of 84. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey everyone, it's Todd Showalter with my buddy Joey V. Be sure to join me and Joey for the Right Mind Show, where we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. Saturdays at 5, right here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, let me ask you, is 2026 the year you finally buy that home? If it is, Royal Banks of Missouri is the kind of place you want on your side. Their mortgage team doesn't just hand you a rate and send you on your way. They actually will walk with you through the whole process, and that matters because there's no call center, there's no out-of-town decision maker. You're dealing with local people who know this market and are working for you. Now, maybe you're already in your home and you've been thinking about making it better, maybe a backyard upgrade, a patio, maybe finally taking that family trip you've been putting off. That's where a home equity line of credit comes in. It gives you the flexibility to use the value you've already built in your home to actually enjoy your life a little more. It's simple, it's convenient, and it gives you peace of mind. Give them a call today at 314-212-1500 or visit them online at royalbanksofmo.com to get started. That's royalbanksofmo.com. Royal Banks of Missouri, investing in our communities, one client at a time. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
All this month, Renewal by Anderson is honoring those who've served and reflecting on the meaning of home. Home is where you live, feeling comfortable, protected. And at Renewal by Anderson, we believe your home should deliver that every single day. With our exclusive Fibrex material, stronger than vinyl, you get durability that lasts for years to come. Right now, during our Memorial Day savings event, save $500 on every window, $1,000 on every door, and military families, you get an additional $300 off your entire purchase. And we have flexible financing. Call by May 31st to schedule your free window and door diagnosis. Call 877-WINDOWS or visit renewalbyanderson.com. 877-WINDOWS, Renewal by Anderson. Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
You said that it's up to Congress. The president's face is on a $250 bill. Politically, do you think it's a good idea, though, when people are struggling to afford gas and groceries?
Look, do you think we should have a 250th anniversary celebration?
Well, that's happening anyway, but putting the president's face on a $250 bill is a choice.
But Caitlin, it's not happening anyway. It's happening because it's being funded by private citizens, by the federal government, by state governments, by municipal governments to celebrate our country. And I don't think that there's anything untoward about having the President of the United States, the person who was President of the United States, on the 250th anniversary bill.
5:50 on the Tim Jones and the Chris Arps show. And the Treasury Secretary answered a question for me, Tim, because I was kind of curious on why a $250 note. And he just explained it there, and I should have caught it. This is, of course, is America's 250th anniversary. So President Trump on a $250 bill makes sense. While I was that clip was playing, we were watching Newsmax, and they had a mock-up of the $250 bill. And I hope they don't use that portrait, Donald Trump's official portrait, because he kind of has that scowl, badass look.
Yes.
And he should, none of the presidents are smiling on our money, but that's not a very flattering picture for the president.
It's the mugshot look.
Exactly.
And that would be a lot of money to not utilize. So if they do complete this and get it done, I think I'm sure they're going to sell mock-ups of this, like big ones.
Yeah.
I would love to get one and just frame it and put it in my office.
I just wonder if how many of these notes are going to be printed if this does go through. And, most people who have their image on currency are no longer with us. I wonder if the president kind of thinks about that, or most presidents are dead that are on money. Do you want to be a live president on money? Maybe that's some omen for you or something.
And I think the point Bissett was making was, look, of course the media is going to immediately say Donald Trump is such a bombastic, arrogant son of a bee that we don't like. So he's doing all this stuff, but also it's reality. They hate reality. This is the 250th year. He is the sitting president, so if it was Joe Schmo president, I'm sure we'd be talking about them being on stuff. Now, Trump, I know is.
I was going to say, Tim, do you think any other president would want to put their face on the
Barack Obama probably would. Yeah. I don't know about anybody else. Bill Clinton might he might like it just because it'd be fun. I think he likes fun things.
Yeah.
I get it though, with the Ark and all that stuff.
And the gold coin. I think he wants to have his money on a coin as well.
You know what he's also doing? He's I don't know if he'd be doing any of these things if he knew it didn't bother the liberals and the media. I think that's part of it. They get so if they all just ignored him, I don't think he'd do half the things he does, but he knows that he gigs them,
I agree. Here is a bit of good news or bad news, either way you want to look at it. Tim, a record high 56% of Americans say moral values in the U.S. are poor, according to a Gallup poll.
Oh.
That's up 12 points from last year. 80% say moral values are getting worse. That's 14 points higher than 25. Now, on the surface, that's terrible news because people are seeing that our country is becoming less and less moral. But on the upside, is it a good thing that we're recognizing that our country is becoming more and more immoral, and maybe we'll switch back to the values that made this country great, especially Christianity?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of a good and bad thing.
Yeah, it's like what's the first step to recovery? You have to admit you got to get over you got to get over the denial, and we're seeing this in the younger generations. I know it's not necessarily good for the vice industry, for the bourbon and whiskey and cigar industry, which I'm a big fan of from time to time in moderation. But a lot of these younger kids, they are not smoking. They are not drinking.
They're not having sex.
Yep, they're everything in moderation, and they're repledging themselves to their version of Christianity or Judaism. They're realizing that we need to have, and I think it's because if you flood kids with too much of something, they rebel against it. Exactly. And this is a generation that's grown up with nothing but screens in their faces, electronics, superficial things. And I think some of them are going, you know what? We love our phones and we love all that, but we also are feeling that we need a spiritual connection. And you're seeing a lot of this. And with that comes like you said, a re-awareness of the morals of our society.
Speaking of young people, young Americans, Tim, are much less likely to socialize with their neighbors than just a few years ago, with only 25% saying they regularly engage with their neighbors. That's down 51% in 2012. And I got to say, that's not just a young American thing. I'm a 60-year-old man, and I got to tell you, I don't hardly know any of my neighbors. I'm not really friends with them, and I think that's been a trend in America for a long time, where we've come into our little cocoons and we, go about our business and do our work and play, but we don't really know our neighbors.
Yeah.
And I know you have because you've lived in your home for quite a while, so you
Well,
know your neighbors.
And the difference is, and I think this does forces social connection. We're in a cul-de-sac.
Oh, yeah. I lived in a cul-de-sac. I grew up in one.
Cul-de-sacs tend to breed collaboration.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
And I'm like you. And look, here's the thing with me. I spend all day talking to people on the phone, on the text. Dude, when I get home, doing radio hits, doing a 2-hour show. I recorded some weekend shows today. By the time I get home, Chris, I'm talked out.
That makes sense.
And I just want to hit my easy chair. Now, I often feel like I'm not being neighborly because some of the neighbors are outside in the cul-de-sac hanging out.
Yeah.
So every once in a while, my wife goes, Suzanne goes, okay, we need to go out into the cul-de-sac. And we did that a week or two ago. We went out. It was fun. It was nice. It was good. And then I went inside and went to bed.
Yeah.
But I do think in our world today, it's 24/7. It's nonstop. Some of us are in these professions where we're constantly communicating. And so the last thing we want to do is go home and communicate some more. But I would urge people to, say hi to your neighbors. Wave at them. You can do that, because I remember growing up when I was a kid, we used to wave to our neighbors all the time, up and down the road,
I can't think of his name. He's an Italian comic, and he has a hilarious skit that I've seen on Facebook where he was talking about, back in the day when a neighbor stopped by, you were like, oh, yeah, let me get you coffee and all that. But now if a neighbor stops by, you're like, making sure you're not in front of the window. Don't make any noise. We don't want them to know that we're here.
You're hiding behind the door.
And I'm like, oh, my God, that is me because you don't. You're not neighborly like you used to be, but that's a
interesting story.
Interesting, funny anecdote there. All right, that's the end of our show. Of course, up next is Larry Connor's USA. The story behind the story this evening is the House of Death in Peevely, Missouri. Boy, it sounds like one of the horror movies that Joey reviews. All right, you've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile,